All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Liberia Rise. I am your host, Mr. Augustine Sharif, and I'm here with my good friend and brother, Mr. Emmanuel Sapalucia. Sapalucia, how you doing today, Chief?
Oh, I'm wonderful, brother. I'm wonderful, wonderful for Texas. Our weather here is good. We're warm. I think it just started raining. We were crying for drought, but now we're celebrating the rain. So I'm wonderful. I know some places like yours, you guys love the cold. You guys are the one that say we're going to the cold. So you guys living in the cold. But for us, we here. We live in our Liberian dream in America.
Man, don't rub it in, my man.
Uh,
I still won't wear our short sleeve t-shirt, but anyway, to our viewers, we say welcome to Liberation Rise. Today is Politics 101, and Mr. Sapalucia is going to be introducing this show shortly. But today we are going to be talking about something that's on every Liberian mind for 2023, and we're going to see how we can be participants in that process as well. So, Mr. Sapalucia, I'll tell you what, go ahead and let us play our intro song. And
yeah.
after the intro song, we'll come back. You will introduce the show, and then we will come back and just try to grind it out and see how it goes from here.
Yes, sir.
In the meantime, to our viewers, we say please continue to share the broadcast, continue to share the show, and please be part of the discussion. Send us your comments, send us your questions. I mean, anything that you have to share, please feel free to be part of the program as well. Let us go to Miss Candy Adams as we listen to Liberia is on the Rising. All right, everybody, welcome back to the show. My name is Augustine Sharif, and I'm here with Mr. Emmanuel Sapalucia. Mr. Sapalucia, I'll tell you what, go ahead and take it from there, introduce the show, introduce what we have today, and then from there, we'll get this show on the road.
Good evening, our listeners. Wherever you are joining us from, we want to say welcome to Liberia Shall Rise. Today is first Sunday of November 2022. I'm sorry for that. And we want to say welcome to Politics 101 because today is Politics 101 Sunday on Liberia Shall Rise. I want to tell us about our country, Liberia. We are going to dive into Liberian politics, but let us go back into our history, we know we are in a one-party system for over a century. And then the late Samuel Kanyando, under his administration, introduced the multi-political party system, which a lot of politicians embrace. But in my view, in my opinion only, it was not structured on a community ideology, but an individual one. Today, we know a political party can be very powerful as a ruling party. And once the individual that headed that political party dies, then all the ideology is gone. And that political party becomes not in existence anymore. We have a lot of political parties that came up were strong oppositions, but when the leader died, the dreams, the institution, or the party died with them. Today, we are facing the same situation in Liberia. We had the NDPL as an example, who were one of the strong political parties in the 80s. Today, no more can we hear about the NDPL. We know the Liberty Party is one of the political parties that we hear about today, but Charles Walker Bronsky is dead, and there are a lot of conflict. When do we start building an institution in Liberia, a political institution that is based on community ideology, civil rights ideology, civil discussion ideology instead of an individual? If we start to build our political party based on community-based civil society issues, then I think we will start to build institutions that will last longer than the ones that we have had. Today on Politics 101, we're going to be discussing an interesting topic that we are not ready for yet. And I hope as this discussion starts, as we start this discussion, we can start thinking about those things, because our world is becoming a digital world. It is a digital world, and Liberia is still behind. And I hope we all can join hands, embrace the new ideas, and see how we can strive to elevate Liberian politics to the next level. With that, I'm going to tell you guys today, we are discussing absentee voting in Liberia. How can the diaspora Liberians participate in the election, the most powerful tool they have? How can they exercise that in Liberia? With that, Mr. Sheriff, you can come on. Let's join this thing. Let's discuss this thing.
Let's talk about this. So, to our viewers, we say welcome to the show, welcome to the broadcast. You have a voice, and you may not be on a platform here. If you'd like to be on a platform, just send me a message. We will bring you on the platform. We'll bring you on the show to be part of the discussion. But in the meantime, please send us your comments. You can go to Facebook. You can join us on YouTube. Send us your comments. Send us your question. Send us your feedback, and we will definitely make sure that is taken into consideration as well. So 2023 is right around the corner, and I would like to start this show with a quote that I think we have on our flyer. It was the President Lyndon B. Johnson who once said, "Our citizens, naturalized or native born, must also seek to refresh and improve their knowledge of how our government operates under the Constitution and how they can participate in it." Participation is very key there. I will continue. Only in this way can they assume the full responsibilities of citizenship and make our government more truly of, by and for the people. And so when you look at our quote, I mean, there's so much you can unpack in that particular quotation that he is saying, the late president was saying. When you actually look at what he is saying, that in order for citizens, for each of us to be able to say, look, this is my country, I am a citizen, you have to participate in the process. And that process is the electoral process. You have to participate in the government. We may all now work for the government, but we are able to participate. Our voices can be heard, just like we have right now in the United States. Every politician I know in my little jurisdiction, they're all chasing me right now. They're all coming after me. They may not know my name from anywhere. They don't know my name. They may not, but they know my address because I see the flyers coming in my mailbox. And I see all the advertising on TV. Everybody is chasing me right now just for me to cast a little thing for them. And so we are talking about the same process, Sapalucia. We are looking at 2023. And just like you said, we are not there yet, but you have thousands of Liberians in the United States.
Yep.
And I want to venture to say thousands of Liberians in Europe. How can they be part of the process? Matter of fact, let's leave the diaspora Liberians. Let's talk about the Liberians in Liberia. How are they participating in this process? How are they part of the government?
You see, and this is a very powerful and interesting topic that all Liberians need to be focusing on. And like you just alluded to when it comes to the United States elections, right?
Mhm.
And yes, we all voted, but that tool that people are wasting, in my view, in Liberia is so powerful in that everybody's sending you flyers. They're spending millions and millions of dollars to send us letters inviting me personally to want to speak to me. They call my phone and I just turn my phone off all day because I don't want to keep getting calls.
Mhm.
That's how powerful that tool is that
That's right.
people just trash, in my view, for t-shirt and rice. Liberians in Liberia need to know that voting, your ballot, that vote is very, very, very critical. What makes it critical is because the decision you make does not only affect you,
Hmm.
but it affects your unborn generation. I mean, when the scripture talk about leaving wealth or inheritance for your generation, so your voting can also create, in my view, curse for your generation to come.
Hmm.
Because if you are voting the wrong people in power and they're making laws or doing things that will affect your nation, your great great grandchildren will suffer for the decision you are making today. So I hope Liberians, as you go to the poll, as you are being asked to vote for your politicians, I hope you understand the value or the power that that vote has, because it's not only for you, it is for your unborn.
So,
And if you
Sabali,
know your unborn, try to
and
vote.
Sabali, I know I always interrupt you, but man, you said something powerful. I don't want us to just skip over that. When you are talking about, posterity, you're talking about future generation, that vote, when you cast it today, it is not just for you. I think that point is very powerful. You and myself, we are in this country. And I think one of the things that we see lawmakers arguing about, whether they're talking about the deficit or whether they're talking about global warming, they are not thinking about themselves now.
No.
They are saying, what planet are we going to leave for our children and their
Yes.
children? So
Yes.
they are actually thinking about future generation. They are thinking about their children and grandchildren and great grandchildren. And
Yes.
so it is powerful when you say, that the vote that we cast today, whether it's here or in Liberia, it is not just for this person. And again, this is our platform here. We are not endorsing, we are not politically affiliated with anyone. At least I'm not. So we are not saying who, but what we are saying, the vote that we cast, that thing has a power to affect not just this generation, but the next generation. So it's
Yes.
powerful. I'm glad you said that.
Yes, but I mean, and if we can look, I know people will say, "Oh, but during the '80s and prior to that, we had a one-party system, so people who just one so say all." And then in the '80s, but it is also because of the lack of will that we had a one-party system for a very long time, in my view. All right, because those who were educated did not stand up to the elite to make a difference, and that's why we went with one-party system for century. You know, that's why we did it, because people they didn't have the will to stand up for their right, to understand the power that they had to exercise that power. That's why we had one party system for a long time. Now we have multi-party system. Today, our multi-party system is almost like a curse to us. It's supposed to be something to be celebrated. But if you look at what they trend after the 90s, especially from, I think I remember during the days of Doe, I think we had up to seven, if I'm not mistaken, 7 to 8 political parties.
At
Today,
least.
we're talking about 30 some more political parties. I mean, 30 plus in a nation that has about 4.5 million people. I mean, even if you do that math, I don't know how you do that math. So for each, if you divide them by tribal group or by region or by, I mean, district, it still can't compensate for what we're looking for. So I think we are abusing, in my opinion, I think Liberians are abusing the multi-party system, because our multi-party system is not based on ideology, right? In my view, let us look at the United States, for example. You got about four political parties that I know of, right? We got the Democrat or the Republican, we got the Libertarians, and we got the
Unit.
some green movement or whatever they call them,
Party. Mhm.
Green Party, right? Their political views are based on certain ideology. In Liberia, you see two political parties with almost the same thing, but they call themselves, I mean, like mirror, they're literally identical. So if you have identical views, then why are you a two different political party? If
Well,
you
to answer that question, it is the conflict from within. If I'm part of your party and for some reason you and myself disagree on something or we disagree how the money is being spent, then of course I decide, you know what? I don't want to be under your party anymore. I will go ahead and start the Sharif movement. And
yeah,
that is what's happening. So all of this replication you see or the duplication you see is everything I took from your party when we were together. I want to bring it with me to my new organization. And that is where some of this stuff is happening, in my opinion.
yeah, it's not it creating more division and confusion among our people, right? Now, when we talk about the voting, the power of voting, and some of us have said it before when we used to have on different platforms on how we can make voting important to our people. It has to be done by education. That is why it is better we start teaching. In my view, we need to start teaching civics from third grade because there the students are learning to, they are reading to learn, right, from the third grade. So when they start, I mean, reading, when they start to read to learn, they can start understanding what their rights are. So that by the time they get to high school, now they are comprehending what they talk about in third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, whatever, right? So that they will know that their voting is powerful and is a tool, that their government is accountable to them, that the elected officials are accountable to them, and all those things. But as we state, people, most of our people in Liberia feel that those people they are voting for, those people are entitled to their votes. That's how they feel. That the position they're giving them, those people are entitled to it, and they are subject to those people. They're answering. So they are saying the voters are in the voters' mind, they are answerable to the people they employ. And it's supposed to be the other way around. So and when it is that, if it is that way, in my view, it makes it almost difficult for the person to see the significance or the importance of their vote. Because if Sherry, if you had a company, you are my boss, I answer to you. I'm not going to take that company serious as you would take that company serious.
Hmm.
Yeah, and that's the power of the vote. The electorates do not understand that they are the one employing these people, right? Even though they're giving them the vote to go to those offices, so they feel that they are answerable to them instead of the person who they are appointing to be answerable to them. And those are things that we need to work on as Liberia to educate our people on the power of voting.
And I think it's very interesting that you said that. Again, we are going to bring this back to Liberia. We are definitely going to focus on Liberia, but when we see some of these things, hopefully, some of you guys who are in the political spaces, when you see this and you have the opportunity, hopefully you bring some of these things back home with you. Like in my local jurisdiction here, where I am, I can tell you, I couldn't count. It's more than I can count. That's the right way I want to say it. How many times I have met my first term Washington representative in my particular area. And one of the things he did, he had a meeting with us and he said, "Look, we're just going to meet with the African community in the area." And we met with him. Just quite recently, when January 6th took place, he came and had a meeting and gave us update. And so all of these people, he understands, this guy was in the military. So he understands that, look, I have people that I am responsible to report to.
Yes.
So he come and he gave you updates. He tells you he have these town hall meetings. It is not during election time when he has been doing this. So right now, he does not even have to send me a flyer. He does not even have to call me. I
No.
would re-elect him based on what he's done for us,
Yes.
based on the number of companies that he's brought in my little jurisdiction where I live. That is the power of my vote. And that is why, all of the other people sending flyers, I already made up my mind where that vote is going to go
Yeah.
because of what I have seen. And I think that is the same thing that you cannot allude into there.
Yes. Yeah. But I mean, yeah, I mean, it's important that we need, I mean, that we have this discussion, and I hope we can have more of them as the election draws near. And I hope, and I think that's what I would really want us to have. I would love for us to have guests. However, I would also want us to interact with our people more, because while it is true we may have guests, political guests, politicians who will come on here, they are not going to tell us what they will do when they get in offices. They are not. They will answer questions based on what they want people to hear. And then when they get there, they do whatever they want to do. And then when they are elected, when we bring them over here, they're still not going to answer our question. They will try to justify any wrongdoing that they are doing in government. It is not unique to one particular person. It's everybody that you see, especially in our Liberian politics. So I want us to start focusing on how we can start educating our people. Let the message start going across the board, right? Let us start reaching out to our brothers and sisters and tell them this is what you need to look for in a candidate. This is what you need to look for in the policy that people make. These are things that you need to vote on, not based on what this person has been doing for whatever. And it's not intended to support a particular political party or a particular individual, but it is to educate us, because that's what we're doing. That's what they do in the United States. People educate you based on the policy that this person have implemented or is trying to implement, that they make you think, okay, he stands for this and I stand for this, so I think I can align with him. That's what politics is supposed to be about. It's about interest. It's not about love. And that's one thing Liberians need to understand. You cannot love your leaders. Love your family. Love your girlfriend, your wife, your children. But your leaders are not people to love. Your leaders are people that you're supposed to support to lead you. When you conflict love with leadership, then you have some destruction. Then you have dysfunction, because then the public will not be served the way it's supposed to be served. And I think that's the misunderstanding that we see in Liberia. Our citizens or our electors tend to love their leaders as opposed to holding them accountable for what they're supposed to provide for them.
All right, so let us transition. Let's go to the meat of our the focus of our show for today. In the quote that I just read earlier, Frank Lyndon B. Johnson, he said the citizens have to participate in the process, right? And so we got this dual citizenship thing going on, and now we find ourselves, we are away from home, we are home away from home,
Yeah.
and as election draws near 2023, we may be sitting here, but our hearts will be in Liberia. We will be following the events taking place in the country. We might, some of you who have connections there, you might be talking to people. You might even be supporting a platform or a political institution. Now, one of the things that I wish we had Mr. Emmanuel Wetty. He was planning to be here today, but he couldn't make it. But one of the things that we were not only just advocating to have this dual citizenship, having a citizenship, having the title of a citizenship without being able to participate in the process, it means nothing, in my opinion. It means absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
Someone can say you're a citizen, but if you're not participating, you don't have any rights in the country, well, it does not mean anything.
No.
So how can people in the diaspora participate in the electoral process? Do you see any, I don't know, do you see any possibility in the future? 2023 is too close, so we're not going to focus on 2023. But do you see any possibility in the future where you think this would be a good idea for us to participate? And if so, how would that process even work?
So when I look at Liberia, and just for our audience in the United States, you can still vote, or in the diaspora, you can still vote in the election. But what you will have to do is go. I think the census started. It's starting this month in November till March 27th, I think. So you can still go to Liberia, register to vote, and then return during election time or on election day and vote in Liberia in the district you wish. Well, in the presidential election, actually, you can only vote for the president and the vice president, but you can still go to Liberia and vote. That's what the dual citizenship has given us. We are outside of Liberia. Now, some of us have been, when we're advocating for dual citizenship, we have been looking at other things that can benefit us as citizens, because there are times where we might want to vote in Liberia, but we may not be able to be present in Liberia to vote. And look, in that vein, we've been thinking about absentee voting, where we can mail in our ballots to Liberia. So now the government will say, "Oh, but we don't have the money," right? Because that's one of the big things when it comes to elections. The funding. Where do we get the funding from to support those things? This is what I think, and this is just me thinking out loud, because these are things that we've been meditating on when we're talking about dual citizenship when it comes to voting. What I think the government can do to sponsor that is ask people to pay to pay. Let's say what we'll call it maybe shipping and handling process, right? let's say pay $50 or $100. I mean, I'm willing to pay up to $100, even $150, if I know that my ballot is going to be counted. If I know my vote is going to be counted, I'm willing to pay that money just to vote in Liberia. I'm willing. I'm here. I'm paying tax every day. The tax I pay a year is more than 150 Liberian dollars. I mean, United States dollars. So why not pay the same thing to Liberia when I'm not even at this time? I'm not being asked to pay tax. I don't mind doing that. And in fact, that $150 is giving me authority to decide who becomes the president of the country. So I mean, it's very cheap to pay for that process. Now, this is how I look at it. According to the International Institute of Minnesota, it indicates that in the United States, the Liberians in the United States as of 2021 is about 250,000. And I think the number is higher than that. But the number is way higher. I think it's underestimated. But it says the Liberians in the United States is about 250,000. So let's say the 250,000, and I'm sure most of the Liberians that have traveled outside of Liberia to come here, 90% or at least 95% are always around voting age or population. I'm sure most of those, or 95% of them are of voting age. So let's estimate out of that 250,000. Let's take Minnesota conservative number for to be our number. But let's assume that out of that 250,000, let's say of 50,000 willing to pay the $100 like me, right? That $100, if you multiply by 50,000, it's about $150,000 that can sponsor those 50 people ballots in Liberia. It can pay for the mailing process, the mailing fee, and everything. And then when you go to Liberia, employ people to credibly hold and account for those ballots. So the government don't have to worry about it. And I think it can also serve as revenue for other expenses that the government will incur when it comes to the electoral process in Liberia. So I think that will be covered just by using the resources from the diaspora Liberians that are sending money to Liberia. I think that should be able to work.
So here's my thing though. I think that would be a good suggestion. I think people who make those policies, that would be something that they will want to hear, right? That would be something that they will probably entertain. But I still have some questions. Doubts and all of these things has to be taken into consideration. Like, say, for example, the state of Colorado, we do lots of majority of the people actually, they vote by mail. And that system has worked for Colorado for years, for decades. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
And other states were actually, before 2020, other states were actually coming to Colorado to learn the model. How is Colorado able to do this particular process, voting by mail, and that process? They were coming here and they were learning, and they were actually learning from us to take back to their states. Other Secretary of States were coming here to learn this process, take it back to their states, and try to implement it. And here, I sat at the comfort of my home, filled up my ballot, I drop it in a ballot box, or I can put it in the mail and it will arrive exactly where it should get.
Yes.
And it will be counted.
Yes.
It will be accounted for. But now what I don't know is this, Sapalucia. I don't know someone overseas, let's say an American in Liberia, American in Jamaica, who wants to participate in that particular electoral process. I don't know how that system works to actually have that person ballot shipped over. Because in my state of Colorado, I can choose to put 45 or 55 cent stamps on it, and it will be shipped away. Or I can drive to the nearest ballot box. I don't pay anything. The state eat the cost.
Yeah.
But I don't know, do we have infrastructure? Do we have the facility? Are we able to implement something similar in Liberia? I sent a DHL letter to Liberia. That letter it's been a year. It has not arrived. I'm telling you right now. You ask me. You'll say, "What are you doing sending a letter when it is a digital age?" But you know what? It was a document that I needed to get to someone. I'm sorry, DHL, but I still don't. It has not arrived.
You are the youth FedEx, not DHL.
I'm just telling you. So
Yeah,
we talking
just
about simple letter can get there. You talking about ballot box? I mean, so
no. So okay, this is what I think, and the reason I think it will be with the Liberians in the diaspora that need to take up this initiative. That's how I see it because we are the one that want it to happen, right? Which if and in my own observation, looking at the system that works in Liberia, if we are waiting for the government to do it, it's never going to happen, right? So it
mhm,
is we, the Liberians in the diaspora, that will have to take up the initiative, working with the government in Liberia, and we can do the investigation, we can do the research, we can work with state like Colorado and see how it worked, what they did. We can do that. We don't have the infrastructure now to support that. No. However, we can come up with that. We can create that infrastructure because look, that'll be realistic. The world is no longer going to where you will have black and white big box TV sitting in your living room anymore. It's not going to happen. It's that time is done with. If you see it, it means it's in the museum or somebody using it as an antique for future. Maybe they think they will get some kind of money from it in the future. Where somebody will say, "Hey, I never saw this. Can I give you $500,000 for it?" That's what we want to see. Those things. You're not going to see analog telephone like it used to be when you're in Gibraltar. You can hear in Jalata. It's not going to happen anymore. So those things are gone. Now we as Liberians, we need to start getting on the path of joining the rest of the world to improve our system.
mhm.
It has to be with our mindset. We Liberians have to start discussing these things seriously and putting effort in it. So I think it is going to be us, the Liberians in the diaspora, that need to take up this initiative. We have seen it work in our community. Those in Liberia have not seen it work, so you don't expect them to take up the initiative. We have seen it work. We know how it works. Therefore, we need to take the initiative and start working on these things. If it is not, well, it's not going to be possible for 2023, but if it is not for 2029, let it be for future elections. But I think we can use 2029 as an experiment where we work on it from now to 2029, put the process in place. Then 2029, we'll try that as a model and see where it will work. At this junction, there is no Liberian that can tell you they're going to be an expert. And I want to really emphasize this. There is
Mhm.
no Liberian that's going to tell you that they are the expert on absentee ballot in Liberia. They will be lying to anybody. No government, nobody should pay them any money and telling them and indicating that they are an absentee ballot or voting expertise in Liberia. It has never happened because we don't have a data. If you don't have a data for it, then you cannot be an expert because you have to do research based on data that you have collected over the years. But we Liberians, we need to start working on that so that we can help us to get to 2029 and then further.
So let's answer the question, for our brother here, our sister. I don't know exactly. It just says Facebook user. So this person is asking a question. You alluded to this earlier based on the conservative number you found from the Minnesota, I believe.
International Institute.
Yeah, the Minnesota International Institute. It says, and this person is asking this simple question. And does the Liberian government know how many Liberians are abroad? If not, how do we know the number of Liberians that are citizens? So, and this is a very good question. It just seemed to be simple, but it is not.
Oh, it's a
Even though
critical question. Actually, it is a critical question.
it
Not,
is a
not
very critical question
yes.
because here's the thing: we are not accounting for your children who were born in this country. Your older son is now in college.
Yeah.
He can choose to be
He was he was born in Liberia.
okay, so he was born in Liberia. So
Yeah.
he still have that choice, and so there are other children, other parents in this country who have children. And
Mhm.
their children too can get to that age where they decide they want to be citizen. Who's keeping track of that? Who is keeping track of these young people or even us? Do they even know I left Liberia and I'm here? I don't know. So there is there's a very critical question that maybe at some point in time we will probably have Mr. Wetty come on the show at some point in time because they have been working behind the scenes on this dual citizenship, voting international, and all of these different things. Maybe this will be a very good question for him to answer.
But outside of that, observing and knowing what I know about our system in Liberia, I can almost definitely tell this brother, no, the Liberian government does not know. Okay, I can tell you that because I went to JFK and this is me from the laboratory. I went in JFK. In fact, I have tried to contact the health minister at Dr. Jala because I was trying to do a research and to apply for a grant for the health ministry to get data on MRSA resistant or drugs resistant in the country. They don't have that. And this is healthcare. This is science. This is not just something. This is something that is relevant. That data is supposed to keep, because the WHO is spending money in library every year for those things, and the government doesn't have document for that. They don't have that report. So just from those things and knowing how many passports that we got out of library, they don't even know whether they belong to Liberians. I can almost definitely tell you that no, the government may not don't know. But what we can do is we that are outside of Liberia can reach out to our local organizations and state department and whatever, and they will provide us the relevant document, because every time you fill in whether it's a driver license, it put their place of birth. Your school application, it asks for place of birth. So those data will be collected from those places that we are in the diaspora to come up with numbers that we can help the Liberian government with. So we still have ways to get in those documents or those numbers outside of Liberia than in Liberia. So yes, I think we still have a means to get in those documents, so we can get some estimate like the what we got from the Institute of International Institute of Minnesota.
Yeah, so let's go back to this whole idea of diaspora Liberians being able to participate in the electoral process. You know, and I know you were looking at this whole concept of maybe we can just put it in the mail and we get to Monrovia, Dubois. It will get to Dubois, and then somebody in some kind of warehouse will put this stuff together. Here is my suggestion, Mr. Sapalucia. In the United States of America, for example, where we are, I don't know about Europe and other parts. I've not been there, but in the United States of America, I know at least 3 consulate locations. I know one in DC. You got an embassy there in DC. We got New York. We got Minnesota, right?
And
And
Atlanta.
Atlanta. And I know you guys in Houston, you are working hard, or at least you will be working to see if you can have a consulate built in that area. And the reason these consulates are super important, my point here is I can go to my nearest place. I'm very close to Texas. If I want to vote so much, I can go right down to Houston. 16 hours later, I can either fly or take that 2 hour. I can do the 2 hours flight, get to Houston, cast my vote at that consulate location. Somebody is going to be there to tally that report, whether it is CDC person, Liberty Party person. We will have representative at that particular place, and they can tally that report and send it to Liberia and say, look, from the state of Texas, we have 500 votes, 200 for CDC, 300 for Liberty Party, or you split it however you want. That is one way I can see us being able to immediately address that question of being able to participate in the process. Go to those consulate locations, vote there in person, and go from there. Here's my second point. My second point is, I know you're taking notes. So my second point here is digitize the whole process. Digitize the whole process. I know that is still sketchy. I understand, because I sat in Colorado, applied for my passport, for my Liberian passport. It still didn't come true. I had to go to DC to get the whole thing working.
Start using DHL.
But digitize the process. So someone sitting here can actually go online and do that process. Just like you said, there's no more time for black and white TV. There's no more time for analog telephone. So those 2 pieces, I can definitely see these 2 pieces being a quick solution to what we can do when it comes to absentee voting.
Yes, and those are 2 great points that are good to consider. And I can speak to the digital voting because, excuse me, I conducted 2 elections in our community here, and digital, they were all done electronically, and it's easy and it was so cool that it can happen. The only problem with that is our community, nobody is trying to hack our community because it's a little community, right? So nobody is trying to hack the community to get the information. However, the digital world, we all know how vulnerable it is when people know that life is at stake and the money is involved. So
Sure.
there where we'll have problem for an election to be held. That will, because even the United States, as sophisticated as the United States is, they're not even considering it, because I know few politicians have alluded to, hey, can we have electronic voting where people just vote? No, I mean, that is not holding water at this time. So that, I don't think it will be good. It will be something that librarians will be looking at. However, I can I can wholly
I mean,
invest.
let me ask you before you go. Uh, the people, when you talk to your friends in Liberia, they say hello to you. The next day they send you that same wave number, and you sending wave to them every time, right?
Yeah,
That process is working. They're receiving the cash.
yeah.
It is the same process.
Okay, so let look at your ATM. The ATM card, you use it every day and you get money from your bank. That's your
Mhm.
money. You're
Yeah.
not really getting any problem. So if America is sophisticated, you're using your ATM and getting money from your bank. Why can't you do your election in, like, I mean, in America from electronic? That because there are targets, because it's become a national issue. That's the thing. Because of the national issues and the critical uh I want to say infrastructure that surrounds that issue. That's why it's sometimes difficult, or it seems difficult to do, because then people become sensitive. Hey, what if it's hacked? What is this person? The voting is manipulated by this person and give it, and you may not have the electronic trace to know who did this and who did that. So there are other pieces to it. I mean, I'm not an IT person, but just looking at what we have faced in the
We
United
should have
States,
TV here.
yeah, what we are facing in the United States and getting that through is not working, I would think we'll face the same problem. So the electronic voting, I don't think for a national election, I don't know whether it will work. It might work in the future when we have a guarantee, security system that can protect that process. It might work in the future, but for now, looking at Liberia, and not to, I'm not trying to down Liberia, but how primitive we are when it comes to the digital world, the communication world, electronic world, whatever you want to call it. I don't think Liberia will be the best example when it comes to using electronic voting. However, the consular office is where I think we can invest in, but it will come to Liberians themselves in the diaspora. How desperate are you for your vote to count? And there where this will come in. And I think we can do it, but we need to have the will. We need to have the will. The same amount of money that we take into Central Liberia every year, we can set up infrastructures, and you'll be surprised that somebody will not want to have a consular office in your city because they don't want to spend money to support that, but they will send money to Liberia every year. But when they're ready to go to Liberia, they will spend few $100 or almost 1,000 to go to Washington D.C. to get a passport done and waste some time there in hotel and whatever. So those are things that we need to talk about. I would support that consular office, and I think those in the diaspora, we Liberians in the diaspora, need to take up that responsibility and see how we can work it out and start establishing consular offices in our, if not in every state, but in our regions, at least to support the effort.
Look, I think you underestimate, and you're not doing this intentionally, but I think you underestimate Liberians will. Man, we are problem solvers, man. Liberians, if they want something, they would do it. We would do it. And so I definitely see this whole idea of, I mean, if I can leave from here and go to DC just to get my passport, if
Mhm.
I mean, I was not the only person doing it. There are a lot of other people who do it.
No, yeah,
Some of you guys travel from Texas because you don't have it. You travel to Minnesota. There are a lot of people actually traveling because they want this piece of document that associate them to Liberia, that
yes,
make them to feel legit, that made them to feel connected to the country. So if you were to put, look, the many voices we've heard in the diaspora, the many voices we've heard. I mean, in the United States here, at least maybe from around the world, there are over, I don't know, I have not done a scientific study, but there are over, I want to say in my layman's way, maybe close to five, 600 different platforms of Liberians in the diaspora, whether it is Spoon, whether it is us, whether it is Focus on Liberia, all of these different groups. And every group, every platform has at least a number of people subscribe to them, following them on a regular basis.
Mhm.
And that is how anxious Liberians are to connect to the land. And forget the platforms, go to Facebook, go to Twitter. You go to Facebook, you see posts from Liberians who are speaking against the ills in society in Liberia. There are Liberians, I mean, voices from abroad are very powerful voices going back home. And so if you were to put something in place and say, look, we want every Liberian in the United States to vote, and we want you to be part of this process. You are going to register at your local consulate or your regional consulate office. Bro, those consulate offices, they will see more visitors than they have seen since they were established. People will go.
No, yes.
Will
You
go.
see, yeah, Mr. Sheriff. You see, Liberians got the will. And like you talk about leaving from here to go to Washington, D.C. You see, the way I have seen us, and this is just my own observation, and I could be wrong. Most of the time, we are more interested in solving our personal problem than solving our problem as a us, as we, as together. Because we don't see the direct benefit from working together. Okay, so it is easier when I'm trying to go to Washington D.C. to get my own passport because it benefits me directly. But if I'm talking about let us create a consular office that will benefit everybody, I'm telling you, some of us have tried this before. We talk to
Mhm.
people for us, for general, for us as a people. We don't want to come to, even when the guy got money, he will not want to spend money there because he thinks somebody else is going to benefit that did not contribute to that. And that's the mindset we need to all try to work against. Because once it is, we say us, most of the time you just talking about us, people don't want to contribute. But if you start telling them how it benefits them directly, that's the only time. But we need to start thinking about, and it's because, and I hate to say this, but it's because we tend to be more selfish. Only me, than us. And I believe in if we work as us in regard to us, we'll benefit more or we'll do greater things than to just stick with that will. That will, let us use our will to expand whatever desire we have so that it can impact everybody in the corner and not just me.
All right, so let's read this question. This question looks like it came from an IT professional or someone. So, or maybe election official. He or she says, election fraud should be considered. Speaking about digitizing the system, election fraud should be considered seriously when considering diaspora voting. For example, if Sharif, that person is speaking on me clearly, if Sharif is running for office and he has more connection abroad, he can create fake data and win with a landslide. Who verifies the vote, and how do Liberians worldwide vote if they don't have consulate? Well, here's the thing. We just look at that address, the very first part of the question, with regards to creating this fake data or the fake database. Look, no matter what happened, elections will always be questioned, in my opinion.
Mhm.
If we have not learned something, the entire world saw, even here in the United States, how to day elections are being so scrutinized than ever before.
Yep.
You know, and in some states, you got people today holding guns standing next to the ballot box to see who's bringing ballots. And so elections will always be questioned, whether you digitize it, whether you actually do it in person, or whether you do it by mail, like we do in the state of Colorado. Those questions will always be in place. But what I do say to this person is, if I am going to be on the ballot, and if you fear that there is going to be some sort of election fraud, that's what we're talking about infrastructure. Let's build a system that today you're not just going to have machines just swapping things through. Even in my state of Colorado, we got machines doing some of the scanning, but at the very end, you got people who are verifying the process.
Yes.
So that process will still be verified by a human. It's not just going to be all robotic. And
No.
so that is exactly what I say to this person to avoid this whole idea of fake data. And the second part of the question, where he says or she says, who verifies the vote, um, and how do Liberians worldwide vote if they do not have consulate? Well, in my opinion, I think depending on where I don't have a consulate in Colorado, but we do have a consulate in the United States. I know at least four that you can find. So if I can't vote in Colorado here at my consulate, I can go to New York, I can go to Washington, D.C., I can go to Minnesota, I can go to Atlanta. There is always going to be a place. Liberia is part of the global village. So
Yes.
wherever we go, there has to be someone who represents us. So there's going to be that consulate. It may be in a Kobo shop, but there's going to be an office that we can go to. So
Yeah.
that's what I said to this person.
Yeah, I mean, and yes, you are exactly right, and that's what I'm saying. That we, Liberians in the diaspora, we have to not take the initiative, because it is we that want to have our voice heard, our voices heard. If we want our voices heard, we will have to take the initiative now and start acting. Okay, we need to start finding ways on how we can have a consular office, if not in every city or every state, in every region. At
Mhm.
least we should have one close by that somebody can easily fly maybe 2 hours and go to and register to vote or vote and come back, and still maintain their 24/7 job, that they can do something for themselves. But yes, it is us. We have to, it's just what we need to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's the right thing to do, Sapalucia, because honestly, I don't know if you've been to some of these functions. Yes, you've been to some of these functions because I remember I was at the Liberian politicians function and you were there. You and your family, you and your beautiful wife, you guys were there. And so these guys come here from Liberia. They come here
Yeah,
to raise funds,
yeah,
and they are loyal supporters of politicians in Liberia. People are here, they are working hard. We know how hard it is to work in this country. Let's not sugarcoat it. We all work hard. But politicians come here and we think, well, we think this guy is going to make a difference. We
yes,
think this girl is going to be the person we're looking for. And we support them.
yep,
I have not supported any of them. So let me not put myself in that book. But Liberians support them. And these people go back home and they don't even take into consideration that you work hard to put that money on the table. They go and they drive big cars and they live luxurious life. And that money that you contribute to them, no accountability whatsoever. And so Liberians are here. They want to be part of the process. And that's what
yes.
I'm saying. It is important that our voices be heard at the ballot box.
It is true, and I think somebody have another question over there. But yes, what you're saying is true. We got people who, like, they just had rallies. They had rallies in other states. I know one political party just had rally in Maryland area, and they raised a lot of money. I mean, people contributed to the cost, believing that that person may be the one to, maybe solve our problem in the country. And let me be frank, and I'll be frank and fair with everyone. Excuse me, every one of us here. There is nobody that has the solution to Liberia's problem. No, not one individual. It's all of us. It's got to be collective. The only difference with leaders of past and present is that they should be willing, if they want us to solve the problem, they should be willing to work with those ideas that come from the outside, right? Like, if
Mhm.
I'm in opposition, or if I'm not even part of your government, if I'm suggesting something to you, you should be willing to listen, at least listen to it and see how it can benefit the country. It may not be in your interest, but it may be in the interest of the country. It may not be something that you, as a leader, wants. It was not on your agenda, but it is something that benefits the country. Therefore, healthcare. If a Liberian has a way to solve the healthcare crisis, healthcare problem in Liberia, the leader of that country should be willing to listen and see and ask them, okay, if you got this idea, how can we work on it to make it to come to reality? And then you can start working on those things. But what we have observed in past administration, current administration, and I know it's going to happen with future administration, is once you are not affiliated with the political parties, you're not in their cliques, you're not related to them, they don't listen to you, regardless of what good thing you bring into the country. And that needs to change. That's what we need to start advocating to our leaders or our politicians, to have a different mindset if we want to have like red develop.
So let's attack this question. What is your 3 to 5 step suggestion to make this absentee voting a reality? And this person actually helping us. Number one, you must have a Liberian passport, provide a family witness. I don't know about that. Know how to cook tobagi. Well, that would be
Well,
that would
they may just give me an example. It's not saying what you should use.
well, but okay, so let's start from the basic, right?
Yeah,
The basic there is your Liberian citizenship,
that's
right? The citizenship, let me talk about myself.
yeah.
Born in Liberia, born in Grand Bassa County. I got documents to prove that I was born in Liberia, and I got high school document. I went from elementary all the way. I can prove my citizenship, right? And hopefully the government have record to back me up.
The water.
So yeah, so I am a natural born Liberian. That's
Yes.
my first criteria. That's my
Yeah.
first criteria, right?
Yeah.
If that was not the case, I would not even get a passport. That's a different story.
Yeah. No, 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 but it's true. So we got, and besides, the Constitution provides certain things.
Hmm.
Let us be realistic. Constitution, according to the Liberian Constitution, it says anyone of a Negro descent can be a citizen of Liberia. Let us put that one for too. So whether I was born, for me, I was born in Liberia. I speak the language. I got my parent language. I speak it well.
My man, wait, man, we're gonna pay that.
Oh, no, I got to prove my citizenship too. I speak my vernacular, all right, and I can take you to my hometown and tell you what town, where St. John. I mean, I can tell you what I did in St. John River and all that stuff, right? I can prove that. We got children who were born to Liberian parents who are now of age and want to vote. If they have the Liberian passport, they declare at the age of 18 that they want to be Liberian citizen and they have the Liberian passport, that's the criteria that they have met. And then children who were born there and came here is the same thing. Now, the next thing we should be doing, he said 3 to 5 steps. Citizenship is number one. Next is voter education. The responsibility as that individual, the responsibility for me to know that, hey, this is what required of me to vote and why I'm voting. Currently, those that are in the diaspora, you can only vote for the president and the vice president. That's it. You cannot vote for any other person. So that's voter education, right? Third, access. Currently, the only one that is in place is you can go to Liberia from between November, I don't know what date in November, but it starts this month till March, I think March 27th. So you can leave from here, go to Liberia, register to vote, and then come back. If you want to stay there, you stay there till October next year and cast your ballot. So right now, you still, every Liberian who has a passport, according to the Constitution, you have the right to go to Liberia and vote for the president and the vice president, because you're not living in a district for a certain number of years that you're supposed to live in that district to vote for a lawmaker. So those are the criteria. So that is that. Now, when it comes to 2029 going forward, what we are advocating for now is for us Liberians outside of Liberia to start working on processes, do our research, start collaborating with the government. For those who have people in government and the next government that is coming to be, how we can start establishing this. Hopefully, we can create jobs where Liberians from here can go to Liberia and take up job there. Create those in the IT world, Stephen or Keller, the IT man, can go and establish the process over there where we'll say, okay, this guy's from the United States. He knows the integrity. Hopefully, he got integrity to do that, and I'm sure Steve had integrity to go and set up his company over there and work with the government and say, look, we're going to go by the system that I know that I practice in the United States, and we're going to have integrity. We're going to have honesty. Anybody that work here will do background check that we can do in Liberia and hold it accountable for the electoral process here. So we have that person in Liberia who is doing it. Then we that are here, if we're going to do the mail-in ballot. So we have that established. Then we have Liberians here who are trained at the consular offices or places that we expect our voting or ballots to be dropped off. We got Liberians with integrity. We will also vet them to make sure that they are capable of handling this process free, fair of any interference, right? Of any personal issues in that. When we establish those things, then we can say, okay, look, Liberian government, we are ready for absentee voting to take place in Liberia. So we, the diaspora, and I say, I'm putting the responsibility on us because we are the one that need it. The Liberian government don't need it. And I will tell you, they will care less. And I'm being honest. They will care less whether you're in the diaspora, you vote or not. You know?
Yeah. So as we wrap this one up for today, someone has said earlier something about the financial piece of it, like who's going to pay for all of this. We do know that when it comes to election in Liberia, Liberian government is not paying for all of the whole process. We know that. The international community pumps a lot of money in Liberia during the electoral process.
Yep.
I was listening to Ambassador McCarthy in Monrovia. He's the U.S. ambassador to Liberia, and I was listening to him, and he talks about the work the United States government is doing through the embassy in Liberia. They are training judges. They are training NEC officials, National Election Commission officials, and so the United States government is truly involved in this whole process. The international community, they put a lot of money in this process to make sure that the election is fair, is transparent. And so when it comes to the money, the Liberian government cannot sit there and say we don't have the money because the money is not coming from her coffers in the first place.
No.
For local elections, I can see that, but when it comes to the presidential, that is a big thing, and we have lots of international communities putting a lot of resources in those electoral processes. So, Sabalusia, let's wrap this thing up.
Yes, sir.
Let me go ahead and give you my final word here. I'll let you close the show. This is your show. I'll let you close it. But what I'd like to say to Liberian people is this, just like the quotation we started the show with, participating in the process to make yourself feel like I am a citizen, I'm part of this process. It is a civic responsibility that you have. It is super important that you participate. And that little paper that you're going to cast as your vote, it is super important. Let them chase you and you do your homework, verify them, look at that platform and see what they stand for.
Yes.
And look at these people, review them. Look, when it comes down to it, 8 or 12 years, that's a long time to give somebody an appointment to hire someone.
Yes.
8 or 12 years is a long time. You will be regretting that for a long time because that person, first 6 years, maybe that person only stayed there 2 years and you start regretting your vote already. But you can't do nothing. You have to sit there and wait for those other 4 years to go before you have another voice, before you have another opinion.
Yes.
You can cry all you want, but until that person tenure is over, nothing you can do. And so that is why we begin the show by saying it is super important that you vet these people. Don't let them trick you. Right now, situation in the country is hard, and then they will sit there, they will hide the bag of rice, they will hide the new money, they will hide whatsoever, and then by the time election is around the corner, they start giving people free rice, and then you say, I'm going to vote for them. Don't do it. Liberians, we are too smart. Vet these people and make sure, let them work for you, and they are not doing you any favor if they bring something in the country. They are to deliver on your behalf. That's my little piece, and I'm going to end there. And Mr. Sapolusha, you can just wrap the show up, sir.
Yes, sir. And thank you for joining me today. And thanks to our audience for taking your time to share your evening with us. We are very grateful and we respect your time. But with that being said, look, this platform is a platform that supports Liberia. We want to see our country develop. If Liberia is going to rise, we all have to be participant of that rising Liberia. Now, politics, as we have spoken of today, voting is a very critical process, right? It's a responsibility as a citizen of a country to vote. And who you vote for determines who you are. And your vote does not only impact you, it has a greater impact on your future generation. So as we vote, as we go through the election process next year, we ask that you please vet, like my brother said, vet those that you vote for. Let them give you look at what they have done in the past. Don't just go to vote for your leaders because you love them. Your love should be shared with your wives, your children, your relatives, your friends, not your leaders. Hold your leaders accountable. On this platform, we want to make sure that Liberians understand why their vote is important as a Liberian. Diaspora Liberians, it's time that we pick up the mantle. We haven't given the opportunity. We haven't given the privilege. The Liberian government did not have to do it, but they have given us the opportunity that we can participate in that process. Let us now take up the challenge and create the avenue that we can be participatory to the election process. It may not be next year, but 2029. Let us start working towards that. We should not wait for the last minute and then we start putting things together. Let us start preparing now. Councillor offices or councillors in various regions or state, all right? Start thinking about how we can create an absentee ballot system in Liberia. Liberians, that country is ours. Nobody is going to develop Liberia but Liberians. 1847 to 2022, we have lived on foreign aid. It has never developed our country. Only Liberians can develop Liberians. If Liberia is going to rise, it's going to take Liberians to make Liberia rise. With that, I say thank you for your time. God bless you, and God bless Liberia.